not going to do that. So this is, if you think about it like that, this is akin to the whistle. You wouldn't respond to that. So, but what will happen in the grooming stage is if you say, don't call me honey, baby, mommy, whatever, then they're going to say, what's wrong with you? I'm just trying to be nice to you. Why are you being so difficult? And all of this stuff to make you feel bad for not accepting something you didn't ask for in the first place. And something that's not even an appropriate response at that time. But they'll try to make you feel bad about it. The same thing with gifting. Giving you gifts, right? Gifts that you didn't ask for, gifts that are not appropriate. You don't take gifts from men that you don't know. Or men don't take gifts from women that they don't know. Like, I don't know you for you to, give me this gift. We don't have that kind of relationship. These are some of the things they're going to do to kind of throw you off, to get you to let your guard down. And it's going to be a slippery slope. One of the women in my book went from seeking a good Catholic marriage to being sexually exploited by her husband in the end of this marriage. But when I asked her, because the way I interviewed the women, first it was on paper. They had to answer a battery of questions. Then we had phone interviews, and then we had video interviews. And when I asked her, like, how did you come to this lifestyle? I was calling it, even myself, because I'm still trying to put everything together, a lifestyle. She said, oh no, because in my mind what she was describing was a swinging lifestyle. And so I asked her that. She said, oh no, I just wanted to have a good Catholic marriage like my parents. This had nothing to do with what I wanted to do, but she was coerced and blackmailed and pushed into this situation. And so with them, the more that he was threatening with telling her family about stuff that he was forcing her to do, but making it seem like she was the one initiating it, right? And so this is some of the things that will happen when you go from love bombing. You think, oh, it's okay for this person I just met yesterday to call me honey, baby, mommy, to bring me gifts, to show up at my home unannounced, to come by my job to bring me lunch unannounced. I didn't ask you for that. And it seems like it's okay, and they'll say, why are you being so difficult? Right? Okay, so in the stage 1, the love bombing and grooming, that's what we're talking about. A sense of obligation makes it harder to recognize the abuse, right? Because now you're feeling attached to that person, and then to leave the relationship once you realize you're being abused. And that's what was her issue right there. Because you're focusing on all, like I said yesterday, the good times. There are no good times with the narc. It's all made up. The narc is a puppet master pulling strings on a stage. We're all actors on this stage, and they're doing everything so everyone could see them doing that, right? And so when you report the abuse and the bad behavior, they're hoping everyone around you is going to say, you must be tripping. Because I just saw this person put you on a pedestal. He's doing this and that for you. He's paying all the bills. He opened the doors. He's always lavishing you with affection. She's cooking. She's cleaning. She's doing all this stuff at the house. I see she's dressing you nice. You done came up, brother, since you married this woman. But guess what? That's what they want people to see. Because that's their plausible deniability. I didn't do that. She's crazy. He's crazy. That never happened. That's the grooming part. They're not just grooming you, they're grooming everyone around you. And the religious narc is probably the sneakiest, the covert religious narc, because they use religion as a front. You're the beard for the narc, right? And the narc is very well versed in all religions because they don't care about religion. It's just a tool to draw you in, to make you put your guard down. If you're standing in, you're praying in the prayer line, and you're in church, in the prayer line and all these places, and the narc is there, everyone has their guard down because everyone still feels safe in the church, in the mosque, in the synagogue, in the temple. You feel safe, and you should feel safe. But the only problem is that the narc knows that. And they show up there because it takes away a lot of work for them, right? And so in stage 2, demeaning and spirit breaking, this is when you're going to come around to, at some point, you're going to do something that's going to be offensive to the narc. But guess what? Anything could be offensive to the narc. If something happens and you laugh, if you offer some constructive criticism, they're going to take it as an affront to them. If you don't accept their gift, if you don't accept their quote-unquote whistle, if you don't accept their baby, habibi, poppy, whatever, if you don't accept it, now they're offended. Because they saw your light and they came to bask in your light, and then they become jealous of your light, and then they just decide to extinguish your light. That's when you go into stage 2, demeaning and spirit breaking. And this stage is for the purpose of breaking you down, but this is the best stage for them because you're still kind of going back and forth between love bombing and demeaning, love bombing and demeaning. So this is where you're just kind of entrapped in this narcissistic tornado. This is a great space for them because they get to abuse you while you're really not aware that you're being abused, and they get to love bomb you to keep you on the string. This is where the trauma bonding comes in. Because people think that the trauma bond comes at the end of the relationship. Oh, they got divorced, whatever the case, they went their separate ways, and then the person is trauma bond. No, the trauma bond began in this love bombing stage. Because that's when the tentacles get in. That's when they keep you in this revolving door of I'm going to give you love and take it away. I'm going to give you finances and take it away. I'm going to give you security and take it away. I'm going to give you, religious support and take it away. They're going to give and take, give and take, give and take. This is creating the trauma bond. Remember, we talked yesterday about the Stockholm Syndrome and how the victims, the Swedish hostages, became attached to their captors. This is the same thing in the trauma bond. It doesn't have to be that big, of a situation. It could be right there in the home between two people. At work, you can have the same situation at work, at home, in the religious community. It's the same process. So once you recognize the process, you can protect yourself wherever you are. So I'm quite sure a lot of you have worked with narcissistic supervisors or coworkers. So it's the same process they use everywhere. So when you get to stage 3, it's going to be the abuse and the abandonment. And this abuse can be, remember, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and legal abuse. Oftentimes people will say, they didn't put their hands on you, you're not injured, you can get over it, move on. Right? But this is not the case. You have to, just like with physical abuse, you have to have something to interrupt the process to stop and repair psychological and spiritual and mental abuse, even financial abuse, legal abuse. There has to be something to stop the trajectory of the abuse, that professional in the field. We can't just white knuckle it and say, I'm just going to ride this out. Then you end up walking away with those limps and bruises that are not healed. And so the abuse and abandonment, like I said, could be the abandonment itself can be mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and legal, as well as the abuse and the grooming. All of it. You have to remember those 5 things: mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and legal. Don't leave anything out, because that leaves you in a place of vulnerability where you're kind of limping around through life and not really enjoying life and having all these triggers and not being able to trust people. We should be trusting of people. None of this should cause you not to trust anyone. If so, then you still have healing to do. Because I hear people say, I'm never trusting anybody again. Well, that doesn't make sense. I'm never going to get married again. I'm never going to love anybody again. I'm never. Anytime you start using like never and always, everything behind it is going to be untrue. And when it comes to that, it should be untrue, because we're not sent here. We're not here in this life to just be a recluse and live it alone and not trust anyone. That's a miserable life. But what we need to do is to be able to trust ourselves and to learn how to protect ourselves, and then that way we can begin to trust others. It's really yourself that you don't trust. When people say, I don't trust anybody, when people say that, really it's yourself. You don't trust yourself to be able to determine who you can trust, so you decide, I'm not trusting anyone, right? Okay, so we want to move away from that. Okay, go to the next slide. So this, like I said, the love bombing, and that's going to be, I met you yesterday, let's fall in love, and let's get married next week. And you can do that, right? Let's get married next week. So these are the things that we don't want to do. We want to slow down the process, because the narcissist, male or female, is counting on moving fast. They're going to find, just like an analyst, the holes and gaps in your life, and they're going to stand in that gap, right? So what are some of the holes and gaps you could think of that someone will show up and present, not necessarily saying your own holes and gaps. So just tell me some of the holes and gaps you could think of that a narcissist, male or female, will show up and say, let me stand in that gap for you. What are some of the things? Financial, okay. A new breakup, being freshly out of a marriage or relationship, okay. Do you want, Lack of support system. The brothers, are y'all going to respond? I see y'all over. No? No holes and gaps? Maybe she's going to come and cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, a 5-course meal? Is she going to say that? Yes? Okay. They're quiet. Okay. Right. And the financial support system, having children. One of the ladies, through my process of interviews, one of the people in my book, he promised her that they were going to have children, but didn't tell her he had a vasectomy. This was a gap. But he already knew he wasn't going to be there long enough for that, right? So this was the gap. Or it could be the opposite. A woman could tell a man, I want to have children and get married, and then say, oh, I've changed my mind. I don't want to have children. Or she's unable to, right? It could be a host of things. So we have to really be able to fill our own holes and gaps so people don't come and stand in them. But we're not going to be able to do everything. But if we have these holes and gaps, we need to be very discerning about, who's going to fill them and make them show proof that they can fill that hole and gap. Because a narcissist is moving fast because you don't have time to get the proof and the receipts that you can do what you say you're going to do. And next thing you know, you're going down the alley, you're married, and none of this stuff is going to happen. None of it. This is what they're counting on. They already have you in the loop. So we want to make sure that we're building a trust through love bombing. This is what they're doing. We want to make sure we know the process. We talked about that. Breaking your boundaries. Any boundary you set, the narc is going to break it. But they're going to start with the smallest one first. If you have these boundaries, they're going to try to come around through the other door and say, you know what? I know, just that we talked about yesterday, don't come by my job unannounced, or don't come to my home unannounced, don't call me after 9 because I'll get up early. Whatever the boundary is, I don't accept gifts from people that, a man that's not my husband. I don't accept gifts unless he's family, and that's what they're going to do. Try to shower you with gifts, try to call you after that time, try to show up at your job, to bring you lunch, and when you reject it, it's going to be, oh, I'm just trying to help you out, I'm just trying to check on you, what is wrong with you? This is breaking your boundaries, right? And they're going to slowly introduce inappropriate topics and behaviors, right? Desensitizing you to those boundaries. Narcs have hidden addictions to street and prescription substances, alcohol, drugs, exography, SEX, all these things. So they're going to slowly try to inch in conversations that are inappropriate, but they're not going to start at the end. Just like the lady who was the Catholic woman in my book, he didn't start at the end to say, I want to exploit you. He started at the beginning with, we're going to have a good Catholic marriage, like your parents, like our parents, and this is what we're going to do. But he's using the religion as a front. It doesn't matter what religion, they don't care. I saw a narc go from being Muslim to Christian to being Muslim again in 30 days. Because anyone who would give you a mic and put you on the pulpit in the minbar, that's good enough, right? They don't care. Exploitation of strengths and weaknesses. The primary target, remember, if you are being targeted by a narc, it's because you have something that they need. People will try to tell you, you must be weak, you must be vulnerable, on all these things. The narcissist is not a bottom feeder. They are targeting you because you have something that they need. Right? They're drawn to your light. Remember, they become jealous of your light after they bask in it, and then they want to extinguish the light. So they're exploiting you either mentally, physically, spiritually, or financially, or legally. This is their goal from the beginning. It's not something they thought up later. That was their intent. All this other stuff is just a pretext to getting in. And then you have the isolation, separating you. And we already know if you're dealing with physical abuse that you're going to be isolated, but people don't think about the fact that the physical abuse didn't come first. No one meets you and physically abuses you and then say, let's go get married, right? So all of the other isolation tactics have already occurred at that point. And all narcissists don't go to physical abuse. The covert narc is not likely to do that because they're very concerned about how they are viewed by others. The malignant narc does not care. We're going to talk about that more. They just abuse people openly and they just don't care. Because they don't have the long game in mind. They're running a short game. The covert is running the long game. Right? And so isolation can be separating you from family, friends, religious, secular, community, gaslighting, triangulation, projection, smear campaigns, psycho-emotional abuse. We're going to talk about all of those things. Financial control and dependency. And financial abuse is abuse. It could be that you're not allowed to earn your own finances, or you earn your own finances and it's taken away, or it's exploited, it's used for other means. This is financial abuse. And whatever arrangement that you made, my book also includes an Islamic marriage contract. Whatever arrangement you made should be adhered to. That's legal and financial abuse. And you want to make sure you have a contract. I did not have a contract, a Islamic marriage contract, which was problematic. However, I had a legal marriage license, and that was great because it gave me power in court. Like I said yesterday, to tell the judge, I want the imam to be certified as an expert witness in my case. But if I had not had either one of those, I would have been lost at that point. I would not have had any power. And as I said yesterday, the judge did approve for the imam to be an expert witness in my case. But none of that would have happened if I didn't have some kind of paper going on, right? because this is the society that we live in, and we have to protect ourselves. And even if you don't have a legal marriage license, you can have a legal document still. Now, the other thing that I was told in court was that had I had an Islamic marriage contract, it would have been honored in court. But since I didn't, we had to swing to the license and push with that power. But the legal Islamic marriage contract is honored in court. It's a contract. But this is the thing. You have to make sure it meets the requirements of a contract in your state. It doesn't cover, every state has their own definition of a contract. The most basic definition of a contract is that it has mutual benefit and mutual risk. If you don't have mutual benefit and mutual risk, it's not a contract on its face. Then you have all the details of who's going to do what, who's going to provide what, what's going to happen. But you have to make sure your Islamic marriage contract meets the requirements not just of an Islamic marriage contract, but meets the requirements of a contract in your state. Every state has different requirements for a contract. So as in federal government, I was a federal contracting officer for many years, and I had to cover a region. Every state had a definition of a contract. You see what I'm saying? So I had to make sure that each state, from New York to Florida, that their contracts met the requirements for their state, and then met the requirements for the federal government. So it's going to take reading and research and your own due diligence. You are your own best protector. Don't wait on anybody else to protect you. And if you're not going to read, then you're not going to be protected. Next slide. Okay, so going back into the demeaning and spirit breaking, that's stage 2. We talked about this. This is where the trauma bond is going to really set in. The demeaning and spirit breaking is going to look like lowering your dignity, disrespectful treatment, creating shame or embarrassment, and disappearing acts. Because people talk about how the narc disappears. Remember, they go to the store, get some milk, and never come back, ever. But sometimes they have short disappearing acts. Sometimes it could be just that you're scheduled to do the family reunion, and the person is always disappearing, right? Or even an activity in your home. I know we would have parties and things in our home, and Kwanzaa celebrations, and Ramadan, different celebrations and stuff. And the narc is always disappearing, being busy, right? But the other thing that they do is make themselves look very busy and exhausted in front of others when you've already done all the work. And now you're sitting down, and it looks like you're doing nothing. Like, well, she's over there sitting down, and he's running around, doing all sweeping and putting out, or the vice versa. But the work is already done. That's the show, right? And so we have to be mindful. We have to kind of slow down, definitely slow down. Not kind of, because my sister over here told me we can't, it is or it ain't. We have to slow down and really think about and watch what's happening, because they're hoping that we're not doing that. Next. Identifying steps for goals for healing, okay? So you can hit the next one. It's going to that. Okay. Acknowledgement of the abuse. It's very hard, especially for men and for women as well, to acknowledge that you have been abused. Because number one is because this person is someone in your inner circle that's very close to you. Or otherwise, they wouldn't be able to affect your life that way, right? A stranger can't have that effect on you. So one, because a person is in your inner circle and you're thinking, this is my person that's going to keep me safe, and now I have to come to the realization that this person meant to do me harm. The narcissist is not doing this by mistake. There are some people that do you harm accidentally. We're not talking about them. We're talking about the narcissist. They intend to do you harm. So when you come to this realization, like the lady that I was talking about with the love bombing, she had a hard time coming to the realization that this was done on purpose, right? And I remember someone told me when I said, I'm still in the stage of the why this way? You don't have to do this, because, hey, if you don't want to be someplace, just every adult has the right to not be where they don't want to be. Everybody has that right. But what you don't have the right to do is to abandon people mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, or take them away and leave them there, right? And I remember saying that, and this brother said to me, he said, but it had to be that way. He said, otherwise, you would have thought it was a mistake. You would have thought, we're going to work this out. He said, Allah had to make it so pervasive, so egregious, that there's no doubt that this is on purpose. Because most likely, which I didn't know, there were some other things that happened that you kind of brushed away. and said, oh, that was a bad day. The person was having a bad day. They had a rough day at work, so they came home and they're acting all out of sorts, or their family is on them, so they're acting out of sorts. They have all this pressure. It's COVID, it's this, it's that, right? But it has to be, we have to really stop and see the signs. So we may not want to acknowledge the abuse because it's someone close to us, or maybe because you're a very independent, confident person, which has no bearing on your ability to be abused. And it's no indictment against your level of intelligence. Because people will say, if you've been abused, then they automatically say, then you must not be that smart. They don't say it out loud, but they say it in their mind. Like, how did you let that happen to you? Right? Even if you're walking down the street and someone comes and robs you, assault you, accost you in some way, how did you let that happen? What were you wearing? Did you have on perfume? Did you have on makeup? Were you by yourself? Was it after 6 p.m.? Had the sun already set and you're walking, from work? How dare you do any of those things? Right? So they'll automatically blame the victim. And that's what the narc is hoping, that they blame the victim so they can throw the rock and hide their hand. Right? The other one is releasing the trauma bond. This is where people get stuck in the loop. Because one, they think the trauma bond began at the end of the relationship and it started at the beginning. So they're not even thinking about untangling all of that. And that takes a professional in the field to do that. Again, I'm a healthcare policy analyst. I am not a clinician. So oftentimes people come to me and ask for that type of support. I can refer you to someone, but I stay in my lane. That's not what I do. Because I could do more harm than good. I can provide the holes and show you how to fill in the gaps, but actually recovering from any type of abuse, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, or even legal abuse, it takes a professional in that particular field to do that. An analyst is kind of like a jack of all trades. I analyze everything from manufacturing programs, cancer research, bioterrorism, pediatric mental health. I've done organ transplant programs. That is my expertise. But I'm not an expert at organ transplant programs. And even though when the doctors come, they would come to CDC, we would train them. But I don't know how to do that, right? I'm training them on how to strengthen their programs, or pediatric programs. And I would tell my team, they would be nervous that we're not delivering babies today. They're not asking us to deliver babies. We're talking about how to fortify their programs. We are the specialists today. But if it comes to babies, they're the specialists. Let them do that, right? So releasing the trauma bond requires a specialist to help untangle. We talk about the frontal lobe. So I'm going to jump in. I told you this is my first time doing this, and all the information is in my head, but it doesn't necessarily follow with the slides. So sometimes we'll skip the slides. And so I'm just trying to put it in where it should fit. So when you're talking about releasing the trauma bond, this is the same thing. Remember yesterday we talked about the frontal lobe. So the frontal lobe of the brain is an area that covers critical thinking skills, empathy, and your ability to determine and protect yourself from risky behavior, right? The trauma bond, even being with a narc, is a risky behavior. And like the lady that kept asking me, I'm like, well, yeah, I can't tell you to leave him. I don't know him, and I'm not a therapist. But if this is all the stuff you say he's doing, you are participating in risky behavior. Because none of these things are kosher, but you're still going along. So you're participating in risky behavior. But why? Someone said, why do they stay so long? Someone asked that yesterday. Why? Because the frontal lobe has been compromised by the narc. And this is not just, my book is not a novel, okay? It's nonfiction. It's based on research and interviews, right? So your frontal lobe has been compromised by the narc. All of the information, the narc is constantly flooding you with information, never giving you a chance to rest. They're constantly moving and talking and pushing and asking, requesting and demanding. And all of this pressure, the anxiety and the stress is affecting and impacting your frontal lobe. So your frontal lobe, you can check it out, fact check me if you want. The frontal lobe is starting to go into atrophy. It's not working, it's not firing on all pistons like it used to. And so now your critical thinking skills have been compromised. So you really can't think your way out of this hole that the narc has dug for you. You don't see the light. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because your critical thinking skills have been compromised by the impact from the narc, right? And then also your empathy has shifted from the narc to yourself. I mean, from yourself to the narc. So now you're so worried about how's the narc going to feel? How's the narc going to behave? How's the narc going to survive if I'm not there? To be what? The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, When you stand upright, those riding your back will scream the loudest as they fall from their place of comfort. Okay? The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, when you stand upright, those riding your back will scream the loudest as they fall from their place of comfort. That's the narc. Now, he wasn't talking about a narc. He was talking about the establishment. But guess what? That's the narc. People who love you want you to have boundaries. People who love you and you say, I can't do that. I'm working on my self-care. I'm overwhelmed. I'm drowning over here. They're going to say, oh, I'm sorry. Can I help you? Or at least I'm going to leave you alone so you can swim. Not the narc. They're going to say, oh, no, all you have to do is this. You can do it that way. I know you got 10 minutes for that. You got a few dollars for this. They're going to make a way for you to help them, right? They don't care. But when you say no, when you stand upright, they're going to scream the loudest. The people who love you want you to have boundaries. They're going to go ahead and do that, sis. We're going to do this over here. We got it. We'll come back to you the next time, right? Okay, so talking about releasing the trauma bond, the third thing is the frontal lobe covers your ability to determine and to avoid risky behavior. While you're under all of this stress and depression and anxiety from the narc, you're going to start to participate in risky behavior. Now, we talked about all of the illicit risky behaviors of the narc, but your risky behavior may be something a little less that you might try to dismiss, right? Overeating or undereating. Some people do that, right? Not taking care of your self-care, not caring for your children or your family, just not doing things that you enjoyed. If you walked every day, now I don't want to go walk. If you work out, I don't want to go work out. Pray, I don't want to go pray. Whatever it is that you typically do for your self-care, you stop doing that. This is a risky behavior, and it's actually a part of your frontal lobe is not focused on that anymore, right? And so even shopping therapy is a very risky, self-destructive behavior because guess what? You need that money to get away from the narc if you plan on leaving. But the narc doesn't care. The narc is going to help you indulge in those behaviors. If you say you want to go on a diet, the narc is going to tell you you don't need to, right? Or they're going to say you dieted last time, it didn't work. You kept gaining weight. I want to go back to school. Well, you didn't finish the last time. I want to save for a home. You know it's going to be too hard. I want to get a promotion. You don't like the job anyway. I want to help my parents get a new home. You said your parents are bad parents. They're going to always push it the other way because they want you to indulge in those risky behaviors and they want you to not focus on your self-care. So we want to establish measurable goals because I know you said, Kalima, you done told us a whole lot of stuff. All kinds of 6 ways from Sunday how this can go wrong. But it doesn't have to stay wrong because your frontal lobe can be re-established. But you can't do it in the vicinity of the narc because the narc is never going to let up. Remember yesterday, if you try to go to therapy and you try to take the narc is going to show up at therapy one day. If they go, and they're not going to want to go, right? Now, if they go, they're going to try to groom the therapist, right? So now you in a double battle with the therapist and the narc. One of the men in my book who was grooming the woman was a psychiatrist. Now, he wasn't her psychiatrist, but he was a psychiatrist, right? And she also got tripped up by the wali. Now, this is not to say that the men in her circle were all after this, out to do her in. Because in my book, I also talk about how we have to have strong men in our circle to even survive this. You're not going to survive that if you don't have strong men in your circle. And it's right in the book. That's in the recovery part. That's part of the recovery. Reaching out, building your circle of strong men and women. Because the narc, when the narc comes into your space, if it's a female narc, she's going to avoid the women in your family. She's going to avoid the women in your circle. And she's going to lean towards the men. Because this is going to be the plausible deniability. Oh, she's such a great sister. She told me she cooked for you morning, noon, and night. She's waking up, for suhoor. She got it all laid out for you. Got a whole spread. Rubbing your feet. Washing your clothes. Da, 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 da. She's going to tell whatever it is, right? And on the other side, the same thing. The male narcissist is going to avoid the men in your family. He don't want nothing to do with them. They're like kryptonite. Because they game recognize game. But we can't recognize the game of the men, but the men can. And the men don't recognize the game that women run, but we see it. It's like, you know what, she got a whole lot going on with her, and they don't see that. So that's why we have to be on the same side. There is no battle against the men and the women. I see that all the time on Facebook, on TikTok, on social media. Like, there is no battle between the men and the women. It's something they put out there to keep us fighting each other, right? And that's what I talk about in my book. I'm not adding that part because they're here today. We didn't talk about that yesterday, but it's in the book. It's in the book. So we're talking about establishing measurable goals so we can recover from all of this. And so we want to make sure that our goals are specific and have steps, because a goal is not a goal if it can't be measured. It's just a hope. It's a pipe dream, right? And so we want to make sure we can measure our goals, and we want to have that paper, and write mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and legal. Draw columns, right? And then we want to write, who do I need to contact? Family, friend, professional in the field to get wellness in that area. We want to talk about that. Like I said, I don't know what's coming next on the slides. I'm kind of going through, in my mind. So we're going to talk about those SMART goals. You can go forward. Okay, so understanding the cycle of the abuse is one of the goals. There's 4 major things, and we're going to go back to those, that you need to learn to make sure that you can protect yourself from the narc or recover from the narc. Number 1, we want to make sure, I'll go to that next. Let me do this first. We talked about this yesterday. You can stay there. Remember, I talked about if you're walking out on the street on your way to work, minding your business, and you get plowed down by the narc bus, right? And the first responders come and scoop you up and do an assessment. We have to be our own first responder. That's the mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and legal. You're going to be your own first responder. You're going to conduct triage on yourself on the way where? To therapy, counseling, coaching, right? Right? You're not going to show up empty-handed, because you have to learn how to empower yourself. You're going for the help, but you're not showing up empty-handed. You're going to say, this is what I have done so far, and I need you to help me get over the fence.
You mean like when you go to the doctor to get a list?
Right. When you go to the doctor, you have a list of things you want to ask the doctor, because you're not trying to waste their time, right? When you go to coaching and counseling and therapy, financial coach, the financial coach is not going to dig all around in your bank account to see how many Starbucks coffees you bought. You need to already show up and say, this is what I have determined. Like I told you yesterday when I was trying to sell my house, right? During this whole fiasco, because I'm going like in the red, bleeding red, right? Nothing, because I'm going through this court battle, and now it's financially, I'm sinking, right? And so what do? I call my aunt, who's retired from the banking industry and now working as, a volunteer to help people purchase their first home. So why am I going to go contact somebody that's going to charge me, right? I go to my aunt and say, this is my plan for selling this home. Do you see any holes and gaps in this plan, right? And said, well, no, I don't see any holes. It's risky, but you can do it. But you know what? Sometimes you have to take the leap. We can't say we believe in Allah and not be willing to take the leap. So I took the leap, and alhamdulillah, Allah caught me on the other end. We have to have that faith and understanding. So now you're walking across the street, going to work, boom, you get hit by the narc bus. Woo, here come the first responders. Everybody shows up, right? And then they determine you have a broken leg. They take you to the hospital. They put a cast on the leg. They give you a crutch and kick you back out on the street. They have not determined why you were walking in the middle of the street in the first place to get hit by the narc bus. What were you doing? Not victim blaming. Why were you there? How did you get here? Was it upbringing? Was it environment? Was it parents? Was it previous relationship? Most of us who have been drawn in by the narc, we ignore some of the behaviors because we've seen it at home, growing up, right? It's behaviors that we saw model for us in the home. And so we dismiss it and say, I can deal with this. Or we say, this feels comfortable. This is familiar. So we put familiar equals good, and it doesn't. It could be familiar and you should be running. Like I remember seeing my daddy, my uncle, my aunt, my grandfather. I remember seeing my mother and my sister, my grandmother behave this way. And you think you can get comfort in that because it's familiar, but no, it's not. Right? So we have to figure out when they put you back out on the street with your cast and your broken leg and your cane, they haven't resolved your financial injury that you got from being in the ER with the narc. They haven't resolved your psychological and mental and your spiritual injury, separating from your community. A lot of people leave the religion, not just Islam. They leave any religion. right? I have a friend that grew up Pentecostal, fully grown person now, 65 years old, refuses to have any dealings with any religion because of the abuse they suffered, the psychological abuse being in a Pentecostal church. But that can happen anywhere. It happens in Islam. It happens in Christianity and Catholicism. It happens everywhere, right? And so they still walking around with that injury. Fear is an injury, unresolved, right? And so now they put you back out there, and you have to, like I said, you haven't resolved the injury mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, and legally. And people say, oh, I have triggers, and then we oppress other people with our triggers. Didn't the narc oppress us with their triggers? You can't do this, you can't be that, you can't say this, you can't. All their triggers being visited upon you, right? And so now you're walking around with a broken leg that's not healed, telling people, watch out for my leg. I have triggers. Don't stand over there because my leg, I have triggers. Don't do this. Don't be this way. Don't say that. Don't wear this perfume. Don't wear that color. Don't talk like that. Don't cook that food for me. My last wife cooked that for me. Right? Don't buy that for me. My last husband bought that for me. Now you are oppressing other people with your triggers. And you're saying we all have to live with my triggers. No, that's not what we're doing. We're identifying and reducing triggers as much as possible, if not eliminating them altogether. So we can have a whole life and show up whole for ourselves, for our community, for our family, for our friends. We want to be a whole functioning person, not limping around on a crutch that we call triggers. Right? I'm going to go to the next slide. Keep going, because I keep going. Keep going. Okay, so how do we break the trauma bond? Because remember, it started in the beginning, and we didn't even know that. So now that we know that, we know what we're working with, right? We know it's like mold. When you see the mold on the top of the bread, the mold has already grown all the way through to appear at the top. It started a long time ago. That's how the trauma bond is. It started way back in the beginning of that mommy, poppy, habibi, baby, honey, boo, sweetheart. That's where it started. The mold was already growing at that point, right? So the way to break the trauma bond is really acknowledgement. We talked about acknowledging the abuse. You cannot break the trauma bond if you refuse to acknowledge that you have been abused by this person. You're still going to be stuck in the grips of the narc, right? The second thing you're going to do is to go no contact, period. And let me tell you something. When I was in the marriage with the narc, one of their family members was using this language. I had no idea what she was talking about. So sometimes we would hear from her, and sometimes we wouldn't. Sometimes he would call her, and she wouldn't return the call. Then I would text, and she would respond. I'm like, she's responding to me. I'm just a new person on the block. And she would say, sometimes I have to go no contact. I have no idea what she's talking about. And he's like, oh, well, she has mental health issues. Now, all of a sudden, she didn't before. Now she does. She's just, she's always going to therapy, and they putting stuff in her head and telling herself that, this, that, and the third, right? But I didn't know when she kept saying, I have to go no contact. I didn't know what it meant until I was kicked from the cliff by the narc, and I'm free falling, right? And then I'm like, oh, after all is said and done, this is what, it kept going in my head. She kept saying she was going no contact. And I didn't know what she was saying. And she was saying it to me. I have to go no contact. But I didn't know that, right? But the narc has control over the narc is usually going to be a very controlling person in the family, on the job, in the religious community. And so people are afraid to really push back, but they may whisper to you, I have to go no contact. And you're like, what are they talking about? And you don't know, but they gave it to you. They tried, right? That's what happened to me. Okay, so the third thing you want to do when breaking the trauma bond is to set reasonable and measurable goals. We talked about that, how we're going to set those goals. So what are some of the things, can you all think of some of those goals that you would want to set? It doesn't have to be you personally. Some of those goals you might want to set when you want to move from that space. What are some of the things you're going to have to focus on?
Strengthening your bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praying.
Alhamdulillah.
His 99 attributes.
Okay, so this is our goal, strengthening our bond with Allah. What are some of, because remember, the goal is not a goal if it can't be measured. Okay, So if this is our goal, strengthening our bond with Allah, give me 3 things that we're going to do that we can actually measure. She said with Allah. Strengthening your bond with Allah was the goal that she set. What are 3 things that we can do that we can measure under strengthening our bond with Allah? That's the goal. Studying, okay. How can you measure studying? How are we going to measure that?
No, financially, it has to be how you're getting out.
Oh no, we're talking about setting. We're going to get to financial because that's one of the goals. But she was saying the goal because remember the goals have to be mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and legal. So she selected strengthening our bond with Allah. So we're starting with spiritual. That's the goal in that column. That's our first column now. And so we said studying, but how we're going to measure that.
Okay, so you would let that person know not to call me at certain times. Don't call me after 9 o'clock. Don't call me, during times that.
Okay, so that's setting the boundary. That's great though, because we do need to set the boundaries. So I'll start with the first one. We're going to say studying. I'm going to make sure I study 3 hours a day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, after Fajr, after Isha, after Maghrib, after whatever you select, after work. I'm going to make sure I study 3 hours a day. So how are you going to measure that? You can go to your calendar and see if you did it. You can check it off, and you can say, I did it or I didn't. It's okay if you didn't, but we want to be able to measure it so we know where the weakness is.
Patience.
Yes.
So when you're setting goals, right, when you say setting the goals, it's important to be clear and concise.
Right.
Clear and concise. What goals am I setting? I'm setting a goal for XYZ. It's clear, this is my goal. Now how concise can I make it?
Right.
The
So she made
outcome you're
it,
speaking of.
right. And she made a clear goal. Now,
Now make it concise.
those steps to get there. So we're talking about studying, let's say we said the 3 hours a week. We're going to set the time so we can know if we did it or not. What's another goal we can set? Remember, she's talking about strengthening. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Thanks for adding that in. We're talking about strengthening our bond with Allah. Is that what you said? Yes. What's the second? Yes, ma'am.
Respecting the intuition Allah gave you. Respecting
Can we measure that?
Yes, when you feel something with something just doesn't feel right with you, whether it's in your gut or you see it in a dream, respect that. Don't just throw it away.
That may come maybe better fit under boundaries, like how to set. That's a boundary. Because Allah is telling us this is not for you, and we have to shut it down and set that boundary. But there's no way to really measure that. Unless every moment of the day you're going to think about when your intuition pops in, and you're going to write it down, and then write down what you did. It's not something that we can actually measure in that way. But it is a boundary that we definitely need to set. Okay. Yes, ma'am. 5 prayers. Excellent. So her second goal is making sure you do 5 prayers a day. You can definitely measure that. You can check it off that you did it or you didn't. Third, under strengthening your bond with Allah. Yes, ma'am.
Being more active in your Islamic community.
Showing up, right. And you know if you did that. Did you go to Jummah? Did you go to Talim? Did you help with this, that, whatever, okay? So we can definitely measure that. Because one of the things with that risky behavior is the narc is going to encourage you to stay home. Go to sleep. Do whatever. Go shopping. It's going to be something counterproductive, right? So that's 3. You can have as many as you need. We're just going to do 3 for the sake of time. So the next one we talked about, okay, so what is a goal that we could set? Thank you. That was our goal for spiritual. What about the mental? We're going to put the mental and psychological together. What are some goals we could set for mental and psychological? 1 goal, someone state the goal, and then we're going to have 3 steps we're going to take to meet that goal. Yes, ma'am.
To actually say what you mean and mean what you say. So it goes along with that clear, open communication, being clear and concise, and also being very, very clear on what you're asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from your community, from your sisters, from your family, from your workplace. Just say what you mean and mean what you say.
So are we going to be able to all day jot down that we said what we meant and we meant what we say? We can't measure that. That is a boundary we definitely need to set, but it's not a measurable goal.
Actually own gate. So when you articulate what you articulate, you said what you said. And
But it
is measurable. Now,
no, ma'am.
it's-
Measurable means I can say at 3:45 today, I said what I meant and I meant what I said. You can't do that for a 24-hour period, even one 24-hour period, much less for 6 months.
If you're a masterful person and you actually
With all due respect, that goes in the boundaries column. Okay? It's not a measurable goal. We can't measure that. Like if you go and say, did you make those 5 prayers? You can say yes or no, clearly without a doubt. Right? Did you study those 3 hours a week? You did it or you didn't, because you can document that, right? But what you're talking about is more of a feeling and a response to outside. Because what if no one says anything to you that causes you to have to say what you mean and mean what you say? That means it's not something that's even going to happen. So it's not something we can actually measure.
Going into cognitive behavioral therapy, that is an actionable thing. I have 7 years of cognitive behavioral therapy under my belt. So one of the things that you do work on is being clear and concise. Like when you say
Right.
what you say,
And that is
what you say,
that is something you would work on in therapy, and I explained that this is an analytical process. We're talking about recovering from narcissistic abuse, the mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and legal. And as I said, if people want to have behavioral change, that's what you do in therapy. We're talking about the triage that we're going to conduct for ourselves. Remember, I said on the way to therapy. When you get to therapy, they're going to focus on the behavioral change. I'm an analyst. We're talking about those concrete physical things that we can measure, or concrete, tangible things we can measure on your way to where you're talking about, to get to you, to therapy, to have behavioral change.
but if a person isn't willing to hold themselves accountable for what comes out of their mouth, how can anything blossom from that?
But it's not measurable. Our goal is measure what we can measure. We're gonna write it down. So even today, I can't write down every time I said what I meant and meant what I said. I can't. If I was consumed with that, I would never get any of my goals accomplished. I would spend my whole day trying to think, did I say what I meant, and did I mean what I say, and then did I say that? We can't live our life like that. You have a question or comment?
It should involve a number, a date, a time.
Dates and times are measurable, right? When, and that you're going to do it in advance. The goal is the thing that you're setting in advance. I can't say in advance that someone's going to say this to me, and then I'm going to make sure I mean what I say and say what I mean. I'm going to make sure I respond in this way. There's too many factors are around me that's going to determine, that's going to require it's going to have to happen for me to even have an opportunity to exhibit the activity. But we're talking about things that we're going to make happen. And we're going to measure. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make 5 prayers a day. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to study 3 hours a week. I'm going to make it happen that I'm going to go to the masjid for prayer. I'm going to go to Talim and to Juma. I'm going to make that happen, and I'm going to meet the goal and say, I did that. But in this case, it's definitely a boundary that needs to be set, like your boundary. But we can't make it happen like that. We have to have the opportunity presented to us to practice that behavior. It's like going to a self-defense class, and you take self-defense, but you can't make something happen. You're just preparing for it, and you're going to respond. Right? You're going to respond to it when it happens, but it's not something we can make. We're talking about what we have power. The whole goal with achieving post-traumatic growth is harnessing our own power and making change for ourselves, and we're going to make this thing happen. And I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to check it off, and that's how I'm going to regain my life and my power. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
You're saying the third goal, right? We're dealing with the mental and
The mental and psychological, we're going to combine them for the sake of time. Right. And so what are some of the goals that we can set? Because she definitely gave us the boundaries and things that in the end, the behavioral change. But what are some of the goals we can set when we're talking about our column for mental and psychological wellness? What are goals we're going to set? We're going to go you and you and you. Okay.
so my goal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My goal that I set for me to help my mental and psychological well-being. One, I'll say I'm a fast.
Okay.
Okay, so I know the population on fast. We don't eat fast Monday, Thursday, dark days, light days. I'm gonna fast because in order for me to do that, then I know I'm cleansing my mind and working towards cleansing my mind. But whatever it is that's distracting me and causing me harm, so I'm gonna fast, and I'll have my calendar, and I'll put on there fasting.
Can measure that.
I do it for whatever happens when I wake up that morning is a horse of a different color.
Mhm.
And then my backup is that, well, inshallah, I'll make that one up. I didn't do it this day. I'm going to
Right. And you can check it off,
check it off and keep it on.
X if you didn't, and then check off the day you made it up. So you can measure it.
To know that I feel better about myself
Mhm.
once I've done that and I've gotten clarity mentally and
Right.
psychologically of whatever it is that was bothering me.
And also, that goal, that particular one, you could actually put in the other goal column for our physical health. It's double, right? Okay, next. I don't remember who was next. Oh.
Like I just want to say, this is more of a question I just asked sisters at the table. What about positive affirmations? Like write down the positive affirmation and read them to yourself every morning as far as the mental.
Okay, and you can measure that. How are you going to measure that?
Daily.
Daily?
Daily.
Okay. Okay, you can check that off. Okay. Is that okay?
Is that that's measurable?
Yes, it's measurable because you can check it off if you did it or if you didn't, right? And you can make it happen. Those are the things we're thinking about. And also measurable, the measurable goals also have to be reasonable for where you are. If you have just been kicked from the cliff by the narc, some of these things are totally unreasonable. And you have to, be okay with that. Like that next day, you might not get out of bed, shower, dress, eat, nothing. So you can't set a goal that I'm going to go, start a new business. That doesn't make sense, right? But you can't stay in that. It's okay to be in that place, but you can't stay in that place. You have to make progress. So it also has to be reasonable for where you are. And you can always readjust and increase your goals, but you don't want to start out too high because you'll become overwhelmed and you'll just give up. Because it's all this other, remember, we're doing all of this while we're over here in the fight, right? Because when the devil is busy, he sends the narc in his place. Because he doesn't have time, and so he's going to send the narc to do his dirty work. So you have a fight over here, but you still have to walk and chew gum at the same time. You still have to protect yourself and build your power. So we're talking about, what was this? It was our mental and psychological. We have one, which was, she said fasting. She can measure it, what days she fasted, and when she didn't, she's going to make it up. But she said this is going to build her spirit, her psychological and mental strength. I'm following the mic.
Okay, I'll make
Okay,
this
Sister
quick.
Teresa has the mic.
Schedule counseling sessions, say weekly or bi-weekly, to
Yes.
help myself.
Absolutely, you can measure that. Okay, that's number 2. And the third one for mental and psychological, what can we do?
Assalamu alaikum. Plan self-care days and hobby days.
Okay, absolutely. And we can measure that on the calendar, right?
This was more spiritual, but in addition to kind of like the mental and psychological, you could rely upon guided meditation and just incorporate into that into your daily schedule, like for a daily checklist, and like 30 minutes a day or maybe an hour a day you listen to a app on your phone that is a guided meditation app with maybe music and sound therapy.
Okay, you can measure that, definitely. And everybody can put, of course, you're going to make the things that, something that you can continue, right? That you can keep up with. And this sister also had her hand up. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Okay. So everyone will have different stuff. We're just putting out some examples of what works for you.
I think of exercise as
Exercise.
mental health as well. And I would say, I will exercise 30 minutes, 5 times a week at the park by walking around the track for 30 minutes, something like that.
Absolutely. Okay. And some of these may go into multiple columns, like the 2 that you just named could be under the physical wellness and under mental health as well. And walking, I walk and walk. I have walked so many cities. That's my mental and physical health, right? I love to walk. And I walk, I don't know if y'all familiar, I walk from Dunwoody to Brookhaven and back every day while I was up to 8 months pregnant. I know sister, she's not here, she lives in the Atlanta area. I walk from one city to the other and back every day while I was pregnant until I couldn't do it anymore. But I always did that. So I did it while I was pregnant. Anytime I have stress, it covers multiple areas. But it definitely keeps my, because I'm sometimes like, I would call my counselor. I'm on 10. He's like, girl, stop tripping. Now, we're going to talk about that. The sister here said, man, her husband was my coach. Yes. He was like, you tripping. And someone asked me, how did it feel going through that and having a male counselor? Well, I had two. I had a male counselor who was Muslim, and then through my job, we're going to talk about that through my EAP, because if you have a job and you have benefits, people are skipping on counseling. Free counseling. They give you at least 3 sessions. So I had one from my job who was Christian. The counselor doesn't have to mirror you, but you do want to be in alignment with them. And then when I remember talking to her, and she asked me about being a Muslim, she said, I don't know anything about Islam. She said, honestly. She said, but if I tell you to do something that's not in line with your spiritual teaching, you stop me, educate me so we can make a new plan. Then I said, oh, she's for me. Doesn't matter that she's not Muslim. We on the same page, right? And for him, being a man, he got a rough way about something like, that kind of hurt a bit. Your healing hurts. Suck it up. That's what we got to do. Suck it up. You tripping. Stop tripping, right? Because when you come out of the situation with the narc, you're going to be very, paranoid. You can say sensitive, paranoid. You're going to be paranoid. And so sometimes I will call him up and I'm on 10 and he's like, girl, you're tripping. This is not going to happen because I have an anxious attachment style. We're going to talk about that if we have time. And I'm always trying to figure out what's going to happen and stop that from happening. And we can't do that, right? We're always trying to make sure we're doing more than what we put too much on our plate. And I want to quickly get to that after this so we can go through this. And then we're going to talk about your attachment style because that is your protection from the narc. You have to know your own attachment style so you can protect yourself. And hopefully we can get to, yes. About what?
The flying monkeys.
Oh, yes, hopefully we can.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Someone mentioned the 5 prayers, but there's a very important prayer late at night when Allah wakes you up at night and you do what you got to do and make your wudu. You come back and make your prayer. I'm promising you, Allah does not waste no time answering your prayers. Tahajjud. Mm-hmm. I do it all. It was calm and everybody's asleep and it's quiet and you talk to Allah.
Yes.
That works.
Yes. So we're going to say 5+. But everyone has to set their own goal. Right. However you want to, because you want to increase over time. Increase whatever you're doing positively over time so you don't become overwhelmed. Yes, ma'am.
Assalamu
Walaikum salam.
I don't know, I kind of been all over the place, but I was just wondering when you were talking about the importance of having a marriage contract, it is very important. You can have an Islamic contract and then you can add whatever you want to add in there. So that's a positive step before the marriage takes place. And it should be for the Muslim man and the woman, and we should encourage our children to make sure you have a contract. And I'm not just talking about financial needs, but you can also put your psychological needs, your emotional needs that you want. And because it makes both of you start thinking about beyond just the financial part. And that can also include having counseling. I required my children to go through counseling before you get married. Marriage, very important.
And you know what? She just left. But her husband, like I said, he's a coach. He said if you're going to marriage counseling, going to him already with your intent and you're engaged, he's not going to counsel you. It's done. Come back and see me later when it comes apart, right? And it made sense. He said you should be going to marriage counseling before you even have an intendant, before you even looking for a spouse. You should be in marriage counseling by yourself with no one in mind. So you can understand what your goals and objectives are for this marriage. Because otherwise your goals and objectives are going to be clouded by this person that you're looking at and say, oh, I want this person. So now my goals and objectives are going to match me getting to this person. I don't have anyone. I want to know what goals and objectives are for me in this marriage, right? Show up then. That's what, and when he said that, it was like, boom, wow, that makes sense. Because you get counseling, but you already have this person selected to marry, and now your goals and objectives are leaning towards marrying that person. And he said when people come like that, when he tells them this is not for you, they never back away. They go in anyway. So he said he doesn't counsel people who already selected someone and then were showing up for counseling. He wants to counsel you by yourself to find out what do you need. Not what that person needs. What do you need to be able to sustain this marriage? Because we can't go in, like my grandmother say, don't start no habits if you don't plan to keep. So now you're starting this habit for this person, I want for it to start this habit for this person that I can't keep. Or vice versa. They're going to tell you whatever you want to hear. They don't intend to keep it. Some people do. I'm not saying all. I'm talking about the NARC. And only less than 10% of the people meet the requirement for MPD. It's like 1 in 67 people that you might meet. It's not that many people. So generally, it's very safe out here, generally speaking. It's like 1 in 67 for women, and for men, and 1 in 100 for women. So on the grand scheme, we're kind of safe. But we may run into people who exhibit a lot of bad behavior, but they're not narcissistic. We were doing the goal setting thing, but Sister Teresa told me I could talk as long as I want, but y'all are leaving here at 1:30. I'm going to be in the dark. So what time do we want to wrap up? I want to make sure I get to the other 2 things before. So we're going to go past the goal setting and go to, remember I told you those things you definitely need to know to protect yourself. And the number 1, we talked about knowing the different types of narcissists. Did we cover that already yesterday and today? We talked about the covert narc, which is routinely referred to as the white knight narcissist, male or female. This is the person that shows up, they're a helper, they pretend. Helper, giver, offering you things, doing things you didn't ask for, helping you, your family, your friends, your coworkers, the neighbors. Oh, they cut my grandmama grass yesterday. Oh, they fixed my granddaddy car. And this is the covert narc. They're usually high achieving people, right? Remember, the narc is not a bottom feeder. They're looking for people that they can suck and drain from, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, and legally. If you're that person, they're drawn to your light. Remember, they bask in your light, they become jealous, and then they want to extinguish the light. This is the covert narc. Narcissism is on a spectrum. But the 2 main check is the covert, that's the white knight narcissist, and then the malignant narc. This is the person that is very dangerous. That's why when people call me, oh, should I leave? I can't tell you that. You need to reach out to a professional, a psychiatrist, psychologist, a counselor to guide you through that. I can't go telling people to leave a place and they endanger themselves. And I'm a policy analyst anyway. I'm not a clinician, right? So the malignant narc is dangerous. They will do you harm. I remember being in therapy and telling the therapist, wow, I should be glad that I didn't wake up with a pillow over my face. And she said, why, you tripping? This covert narc type is a type of person that unalives the whole family. People are not accidentally falling off of cruise ships. We went away on a vacation and came back 1 less person. Get home, there's nothing there that belongs to that person. It's like the person never existed. And this is not, when you think, and that's why in my book I interview women who were in these situations, Christian, Muslim, and Catholic, with people who are high achieving, right? A psychiatrist is one of the people in the book. A high school principal is one of the people in the book, right? A Division 4 college coach, whatever that is, the big college coach. These are high achieving people. That's how they get away with that, right? So high achieving people are looking for what? High achieving people. Or the opposite if they want to dominate, right? But at any rate, you have something that they need. So don't let people tell you, oh, if you've been taken advantage of, you're weak, you're vulnerable. No, you have light and they're drawn to your light. They want to suck that light out for themselves and go off and find another light, right? So the thing you want to make sure you understand the different types of narcs. That's just 2, for time's sake, the 2 grand columns, right? You have to know who you're dealing with while you're planning your what? Right. Number 2, you want to know your own attachment style. There was a door that was left open for the narc to come in. And once you learn your attachment style, then you can shut that door. You can have control over that door, right? There's 4 attachment styles. The first one is the secure attachment style. This is the one that we all want to lean into. This is the person that's secure with being emotionally vulnerable. This is the person that has a positive outlook on themselves and on others. They have a positive outlook on life. They have that can do, I can do it, I can get it, I can make it happen. This is the secure attachment style. This is what we want to lean into. But unfortunately, we're not perfect, so all of us have some combination of one of these others. The second one is the anxious attachment style. This is the person that has fear of abandonment. It could be from childhood, it could be from adulthood, whatever the reason, we're not going into that now, but they have fear of abandonment. So that means they also have fear of being emotionally vulnerable because they don't want to show themselves or reveal their feelings because they have fear of rejection, right? This is the person also that is the doer and the giver. When people come to you and say, oh, can you help me? We need volunteers for this, that, and the third, and you know you're already up to your eyebrows in work, and you don't want them to be without, so you say, okay, raise your hand. No one's raising their hand, that's me. So I learned that I have the anxious attachment style. But it wasn't until 2 years after this whole thing that I learned that, right? Because even though I wrote the book, it had to end. And everything can be in the book. So even after the book, when I do my lives, the 2 hours on Sunday, it's additional research that I've done around the topic. And that's when I learned, it was actually my older brother that said, Kalima, you need to read about attachment styles and do a 2-hour session on that. And so I did. My older brother, he probably sells more books than I do. Like he's always out selling my books. But he's always trying to find other ways for me to go into other areas. So the anxious attachment style, that's number 2. The avoidant attachment style is a person that's super independent. They never let you help them do anything. Do you know people like that? They always refuse your help, even when they clearly need it, right? You find that behavior also in the covert narc. Who are you to offer me help? I don't need anything from you. I'm the narc, right? But some of us who are not narcs, some people who are not narcs will have that behavior where they're super independent because they have fear of being what? Vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable to accept help from people. To say, I'm sorry, I need help. Because my sister knows I can write, I cannot count past 10 without my fingers. This is the mathematician over here. I can't count, right? So I have to be vulnerable to say, can you help me with my budget? Because I can't count. That's not what I do, right? So we have to be vulnerable to do that. So the person that has the avoidant, they're avoiding vulnerability. They avoid getting help. They don't want to appear to be weak, and they don't want to let you in because you have to let the person know where your weakness is to get help. And then the 4th attachment style is disorganized. That's the person who's saying they want something and they push it away. I want to have a husband. I want to have a wife, but my whole behavior, my whole being pushes it away. I'm not open. I'm not prepared. No one can become a wife or a husband after the fact. You need to be wife or husband material in the beginning. And now I'm not willing to do any of these things I need to do to change my lifestyle to have this person. So I'm pushing it all away. Or to have a family, or to have children. I'm pushing it all away. I want to have children, but I insist on driving this 2-seater Mercedes, whatever it is. I don't know cars. But, I want to have kids. Well, where are you going to put the kid? I'm just saying. But whatever your lifestyle is, you can't say, like you say, you want to be closer to Allah, and then you still live in a different lifestyle. That's the narc. The narc has a whole different life that nobody knows about. All those addictions that we talked about, right? So those are your attachment style. Once you learn your attachment style, you can shut that door. And one of the ways after I learned it, and we were going through this whole process, and then someone approached me and said, oh, we need someone to do X, Y, Z, because I'm on several boards and doing volunteer. And in my mind, I said to say yes. And at the same time, I'm thinking, how am I going to fit that in? And then out of my mouth said, I can't do that. I'm working on my self-care. And I'm like, who said that? Like, wow. And then it just came out like that. And now I've been using it completely. Even if I'm not doing something at that moment, I should be working on my self-care 24/7. And guess what else happens? If you tell someone, I can't do this because I'm working on my self-care, and they come up with 50 ways from Sunday how I can change my schedule to do it, you are not interested in my self-care. Right? That's a way to seek them out, too. Because you're only interested in getting what you want out of me, regardless of how it's going to hurt me. Right? Because as I said, when this happened, this is like 3 years, I really felt like I was drowning, right? I'm going underwater and people are calling me for help. I'm like, how can I help them when I'm drowning? But they don't see me drowning. They think I'm treading, oh, can you teach me how to tread water like that? That's in their mind. They see you surviving. So when you feel like you're drowning, don't think you're drowning. You're surviving. And people who are not surviving, who are not thriving, are watching you, right? And you don't even know they're watching you. And they're calling you to say, can you help me? And you're thinking, I can't help myself, but you can. You can help yourself and you can help them. That's the post-traumatic growth. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask, how long did it take you to complete the book?
To complete the book, I worked on, it was 11 months, literally day and night. Literally, it was almost like I couldn't, because one of my friends who's an epidemiologist wrote a book. And I asked him, he's a colleague at work, I said, when do I know that I'm finished? He said, oh, You know when you're finished when it's finished. Look, that was not helpful at all. Like, what are you talking about? Because it was like day and night. Like, I was totally obsessed and consumed researching, writing, and the interviews with the women took like 6 months to interview them. And so I couldn't even sleep. Literally. I was not sleeping at all anyway because I was traumatized. But this was my own self-care because I love to research, to write. That's what I do at work. So it was easy for me to do that. It may not be easy for someone else. So I just kind of plowed through it in 11 months. And it took the publisher another 9 months to put everything together. But when I finished writing the book, like I said, I had a gap in there for 3 months when I sent the book to all those men that I mentioned. And I had 90 days to get the response back from the men to make sure the book was balanced, right? And so that whole entire process was 2 years. But you know what? I was telling one of the sisters, one of my friends, Laura Hughes, we were friends in elementary school. We connected on Facebook during this time. Hadn't talked to her in probably 35 years. We connected on Facebook, and we were best friends in elementary school. That was, yeah. And so, but she was writing the book too. Took her 10 years, but she was writing a novel. 10 years writing a novel. And so it was just, and then she and I reconnected and listen to each other about our process and everything to help along. But yeah, the whole entire thing took 2 years, but writing took 11 months. But then that's what I do every day. Like, it's nothing for me to go to work on Monday and they send me a 400-page document to review and analyze and push it back out in about 2 or 3 days. So I'm saying that to say 11 months is kind of quick, but that's what I've been doing. But someone else, it may take them years. People take 10, 20 years to write a book. And I didn't use AI. And sometimes other writers don't like when I say that, but it's just a fact. I don't care if you use AI, but I didn't use AI. I did all the research myself and the interviews. I didn't interview myself, though, because I'm one of the women interviewed in the book. I had another writer interview me, and so I could go through the same process as all the other women, because it was very stressful for them doing the interviews. It was stressful for me to hear all the trauma that they went through. And so I just said, I need someone to interview me so I can go through the same process just to make sure that it's all kosher, right? And not write my own not do my own interview or write my own case study. Okay, so remember, we have to know the types of narc that we're dealing with. We have to know our attachment style. We talked yesterday about JADE. We have to recognize and know JADE. JADE is an acronym for justify, argue, defend, explain. I think you can go forward, because now I'm just off track, off course. So I'm just going. Okay, you can leave it there. That's going to be towards the end. So justify, argue, defend, explain. This is what the narc is going to do when you try to set boundaries. Male or female, doesn't make a difference. It's all the same thing. When you set a boundary for them that I don't like, I don't want, I don't need, I can't have, I can't do, I can't go, whatever your boundary is, the narc is going to want you to justify that. Why not? You don't have to tell them why. We're grown people. I don't have to tell you why. I don't want this, don't like this, don't call me baby. I don't have to tell you why. Don't do that. My name is good enough. Right? We talked about that. They're going to come with the terms of endearment and then make you feel bad for not accepting it. But this is the kick in the door and getting the foot in, right? So whatever the boundary is, don't call me because I have to get up for Fajr. Don't come by my job. Don't do this. They're going to ask you to justify. Then they're going to try to rope you into an argument because now they're accessing your what? We talked about the frontal lobe. The number 1, critical thinking. Number 2, empathy. Number 3, risky behavior. They're going to access that and rope you into this argument. And at the end of that argument, they are going to be the victim. Never fails. At the end of that whole back and forth, arguing with a narcissist is like playing Uno and constantly getting the reverse card. Boom, we're going back there. Boom, we're going back there. Boom, we're going back there. Why can't I come to your house at 11 o'clock? I'm checking on you. What's wrong with you? You're so ungrateful. Why can't I stop by your job and bring you lunch without calling first? You're so ungrateful. I'm checking on you. Right? Why can't I give you something you didn't ask for? Why can't I call you baby, mommy, papi, habibi? Why can't I do that? I'm trying to be nice to you, show you some love, king. Why are you rejecting this? Queen, why are you rejecting this? Right? But we have to be comfortable with rejecting it, because a narc is sure you're going to be uncomfortable rejecting it, because the social norm is to say, thank you for calling me queen. No, bro, I don't know you like that. My name is Kalima. I don't know you. See? You see? Y'all hear that over there? The social norm is to say, thank you. No, we're not thanking you for that. And I was on a podcast with a brother, and he said the same thing. He said, I can't stand when sisters call me king. I don't know them. He said, it puts me in a space to have to do all these things for them because they're calling me king. Like I got to show up for them like that when I don't know them. Right? And it's a whole thing. It was on social media, and he said, I'm not your boo. And that I sent that out, and it blew up. He said, I'm not your boo. But that was the brother saying that. He said, I'm not your boo. Don't call me that. Because it puts him in a space to be obligated to do these things beyond just being a helpful brother. Now you calling him king, you calling him boo, and he's got to do all this stuff. He don't know you like that. Right? Where was I? Oh, attachment styles, we talked about that. The J, justify, argue, defend, explain. They're going to use it both ways. Remember, it's like Uno in the reverse. They're going to use it on you when you set a boundary. They're going to go to Jade when you question them, because the narc is wearing a whole bunch of masks. When you see behind the mask, when you call them on the hypocrisy, when you tell them how their words and actions don't match, all this stuff we talked about in the love bombing stage, when you align with me mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, and legally, none of this stuff showed up. They're going to go to Jade. They're going to justify, argue, defend, explain, a bunch of nothing. And take you around and hit that Uno reverse. Boom, 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 reverse. Right? So we have to learn the Jade. Remember, we're learning the narc types, so we know who we're dealing with, how we're going to plan our escape. Number 2, we're learning about our own attachment style. What door do we leave open for the narc? How we can lean more into secure attachment. When you know your attachment style, me learning my attachment style, when that person approached, and the person didn't mean any harm. Because in fact, it worked perfectly because it said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were working on your self-care. You know, this is what he said, Brother Bilal. He said, you know what, maybe next time. And he's one of the civil rights activists in our community. He said, maybe next time. And he went on about his way because he didn't mean me any harm. The person that mean you harm is going to say, oh, no, I know you got this kind of time, or I just need you to do one thing for me while you're drowning. Mm-mm. He said, no, I'll come back the next time. Okay? So the Jade. And then the 4th thing is setting those boundaries. You gave us boundaries. You gave us boundaries. Setting and enforcing boundaries. We all have boundaries, but the narc is a master of slipping under the door and getting around those boundaries and going no contact. And we have to do that. And sometimes you can't go no contact because you might be living in the space with the person you need to go no contact with, or maybe you can't go no contact because it's at work and it's your boss, or it's a coworker, or it's in your religious community and you don't want to change. So you have to go no contact with your frontal lobe. Don't allow those people access. You shut them down because they're going to go with the Jade, and you shut it all down. I'm good with that. And you can just go no contact. If you are like co-parenting or something, it's hard to go no contact, but it's all kinds of ways you can go no contact. Because a lot of times people come and they say, oh, we have to co-parent, and this is the person who's with the narc, doesn't want to be with the narc, but keep putting themselves in the space with the narc because they just like drama. They like to be messy. Why can't I have to drop the kids off, and you don't have to see that person to drop the kids off? I said, I told this individual, this is on social media because in the chats, and I'm like, all you have to do is set a schedule. When you pick up from daycare, when they pick up from daycare. Let them pick up on Friday, drop off on Monday. Let them pick up at Big Mama house, and you are not at Big Mama house. Let him pick them up and drop them off at Big Mama house, at school, at the daycare. Stop being messy. You don't have to see him to exchange the kids. You being messy. You say he the narc, and then you bothering the narc. Who does that? Stop bothering the narc. And then get mad because he's narking. Right? Just being messy. Right? So I think we can wrap it up. So here, this last slide is about the superpower. We talked about that yesterday. Your superpower is that thing when you get up in the morning, you love doing it. You can't wait to do it. Doesn't even matter if you're not good at it. You do it because it makes you feel good, and it helps others. It gives you power. It gives you purpose. Because that day after you've been thrown from the cliff by the narc, and you're looking for you remember, Allah put a parachute in everybody, in the womb with everybody. All we have to do is pull that ripcord and open it up and save ourselves. Now I had a parachute and a person. We had 2 parachutes and 2 people in there together, right? But everybody, Allah sent us here with our own mechanism for saving ourselves. We don't have to wait for someone to save us, right? And so that's how you're going to discover your superpowers. Find out what is that thing. For me, it was writing, because that's what I've been doing since I was 12. It's easy for me. It's just, I can see a whole, I used to write poetry as well, and I would see the whole poem at one time and just write it down. I'm not trying to figure it out. The whole thing would come in my head at once, and I would get out of bed and write. The book is the same way. I would have a whole chapter, and I'd get out of bed and just write that chapter. But that's me, because, like I said, at work, they'll shoot me a 400-page document and say, oh, we need this done. You know, this Monday, we want to wrap this up by Wednesday. Got you. But don't send me any numbers, graphs, or charts. I don't know how to do that, right? I used to send stuff to my friend that worked at CDC who was a math whiz. I'm like, I need you to check this out, send it back, and I'm going to do this part. And I don't count. She got that part of the gene. I can't do that. But I'm saying, whatever it is that you do well, you lean into that. If it's baking, gardening, surfing, I don't know. My friend that wrote the book, it was about surfing. It was about a novel about female surfers, how they're discriminated against in the industry. That's what she was writing about. It took her 10 years to write that novel. But she's a surfer, and I can't swim. But, so you're going to go to the thing that you do well. If it's landscaping, gardening, chess, cycling, boxing, whatever it is, walking, start a gardening club, whatever it is, you're going to do it for yourself first, and then you're going to find a way to do it for others, or at least one other person. That's how you achieve post-traumatic growth. Because now you have eclipsed your trauma. You've taken that negative thing and turned it into something positive, not only for yourself, but for someone else. That is the very definition of post-traumatic growth. Now you're outside of yourself. You've catapulted your life into a whole new direction. When that happened to us on that trip, 8 hours from home, abandoned by what was supposed to be a husband, and I have 2 teenagers with me, I'm thinking, I have been kicked from a cliff. I don't even know what Allah has in store for me. I wasn't thinking about writing a book. I was drowning. But sometimes Allah has to dismantle your whole life for you to step out into something else, because it's not meant for you, right? What's meant for you will never pass you by, and what passes you by is not meant for you. And sometimes, like Brother Hassan would say, it hurts. Suck it up, you know. And you have to have sometimes, especially coming out with the narc, you have to have a coach or a counselor who's going to shake you up. Because the narc has impacted your frontal lobe and you can't see clearly. And the narc is going to make you think you did something wrong. They're going to put all the blame on you. And someone has to shake you up to make you see them for who they are. I remember we went to court and I saw him in court. And I told Hassan, I said, it looks like he shrunk. He said, no, he didn't shrink. He was always that way. You were just there. He was always that way. But people can shrink in your mind because you see them for who they are, because they wear all these masks. And when you see behind the mask, they shrink. If you hear a bump in the closet, you go open the door, there's no fear, right? But as long as you just let that bump in the closet keep bumping in the closet and you creating this monster. I remember we went to King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, and we were teenagers. I had never been on a roller coaster. And my cousin Peanut, everybody has a cousin Peanut, we're standing in line and I am terrified. And then multiple times I'm thinking, I'm just gonna get out of line. We get on the roller coaster, I get off and say, oh, I get back in line. If they could make it as scary as I thought it was gonna be, they would have been onto something. That's the same thing with the narc. As soon as you see behind the mask and see them for who they are, they're not scary anymore. Or they're not able to manipulate you. And you see behind the mommy and the baby and the poppy and the habibi and all that stuff, you're like, you know what, I got you. I see you, right? I see you. But I'm gonna wrap it up here. I see it's 1:09. And I don't know if Sister Teresa, that's all I have. If anyone have questions, if we have more time, but I think not, because we had a lot of questions. But if you want, go to the next slide. You can definitely reach out to me anytime. I am available for roundtable discussions, seminars, workshops, and vending. And my book is available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, and Kindle. And also, there was another thing I was going to say. I forgot what it was. Oh, yes, thank you. On Sundays on TikTok, I'm there 8 to 10 p.m. every Sunday. And throughout the week, you can go there and see clips of those kind of just like this, but it's people kind of conversing in the chat. I push those out to Facebook. I have a YouTube channel, and also I have some other channels that the publisher made for me, but I don't, yeah. I'm kind of working my way around to those, and because my goal is not to do that social media at all. I want to connect with HBCUs, counseling services centers, and do more seminars and roundtables and workshops. Yes, ma'am. I have a lot of books out here. They're still available. They're $20. And thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you for helping me. This helped me prep for Chicago. Because in 2 weeks, I have to do the same thing for military chaplains. And that's just kind of blowing my mind that I'm even doing this. But thank you for giving me a safe space to prep. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
You don't even count your money and make yourself?
Thank you, Sister Kalima.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And thank you, Crystal. We really hit the jackpot this year, didn't we? With the conference. Before you all get unsettled, we have a special presentation by Sister Valerie Dale, and then we'll have some acknowledgments, and then we'll have time to visit the vendors again and mix and mingle and find out more about each other.
Assalamualaikum, my beautiful sisters.
Walaikum salam.
Okay. Has this been awesome? Yes. It's been phenomenal. Now, I just want you all to indulge me for a minute. If you got a bottle of water, hold it up for a minute. I want you to look at it real closely. Just look at it. So see how easy that was for us to pick it up? If you were at home, you could take your faucet and just turn it on. Is that correct? Okay, let's just say if this water was dirty and filthy, would you drink it? Nope. Let's say if you were really thirsty and wanted water and couldn't get it, what would you do? No, let's go back. I'm saying if you wanted water and you couldn't get it, what would you do? Y'all not with me. If you somewhere pray, if you somewhere you can't, there are people in this world who can't get water, who want water, who need water. So, but we have the convenience of water. So that's what I want to bring home. So I'm honored to present this donation to the Baraka Foundation. And the representative here is Sister Adila. When she comes, give me a second, because I just want to talk a little bit. Sister Adila Shabazz, and representing her daughter Aziza Shabazz Toure, one of the founders of the Baraka Foundation. Now, they provide accessible clean water in the Gambia. The Baraka Foundation was founded in January 2022 with the mission of helping to reduce extreme poverty, hunger, homelessness, and to provide clean drinking water. So I say to you, the next time you drink your water, look at it. Think about what Baraka is doing. Through the building of wells, that's what they do. They make it accessible to all developing countries like Gambia and elsewhere. The name Baraka is so appropriate because it means to bless, to increase, or to cause to prosper. Baraka is not just material increase, but also a multiplication of goodness, peace, and benefit that cannot always be measured. So I say CERWIS is committed to uplifting women, amplifying their voices, fostering community engagement. It is our collective belief that when women thrive, communities flourish. So today, the purpose of this donation, and that we are delighted to present, a donation of $1,175, and we're going to bring Sister Adila to present her this in just a moment. We understand this contribution will support the Baraka's Foundation vital efforts to construct water wells, ensuring clean and accessible water in the communities in need. So all those of you who donated, may Allah bless you. All those who wanted to donate and could not, may Allah bless you for your intent to want to. So with this, clean water is the foundation of health, education, and sustainable livelihoods. Without contributions, families, especially women and children, won't have to walk long distances for water. It can drastically reduce waterborne diseases
and free up time for children to attend school and mothers to focus on productive activities. I want to emphasize the alignment of missions. CERWIS and the Baraka Foundation share a profound commitment to community, resilience, human dignity, and equal opportunity. Together, we are making tangible progress through a world where essential needs are met and communities are empowered. We thank the Baraka Foundation for their dedication, for their work and what they're doing. So Sister Adila, would you please come forward? Yes. On behalf of CERWIS, please accept this donation as a symbol of solidarity and hope. And we want to give you the real money, because this is the one you can put. This is the real one, but this is the big one. Yes, ma'am. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Yes, ma'am. You all do. And I would like to encourage each and every one of you to donate. If you can't donate now, every time you pick up a bottle of water, think about the Baraka Foundation and what your money, there's no donation that's too small or meager, because Allah will bless you when you bless others. Before you return to Him and after return, this will give you the opportunity to have blessings for the rest of your life. Alhamdulillah.
And I just say that alhamdulillah, shukran so much, all you sisters who donated. I've been to the Gambia 3 times. And the first time I went, I was complaining about everything. The dusty roads, the sometimes wake up in the morning with the cold water. And, I was just a complainer. So my daughter took me next door. And I went next door, and this woman came and she hugged me. And they were sleeping on the floor. And she was so happy to see us. And she just said, "Thank you so much for coming to visit us." I didn't complain anymore. They were sleeping on a thin mat, but they were so happy and thankful and joyful. And alhamdulillah, it just humbled me, and know that whatever you give, it's going a long way. The average income, maybe $1,000 a year, I'm talking about, or less than that. And one more story, I must say that last time I was there last year, again, we were going to build another well, just from donations from people like you. It's a foundation. We don't have a whole lot of money. And so we were getting ready to go, and whenever we go to dedicate a well, we all dress alike. It's like a thing you do over there, the families dress alike. And I was complaining, it was my last day there. It was time for me to go catch a plane. And we were riding along this long, dusty road, like 2 hours. And I'm like, when are we going to get there? They didn't know I got to go catch a plane. Okay, we finally get there 2 hours after this long road, and we picked up 2 workers along the way. And then my daughter said, "Mom, put on your glasses." I'm saying, "I don't need any glasses." She wanted me to see, when we got to this place finally, there was a little house there. And this woman came out, and she was following with the trail of kids behind her. And she just came and started cursing to me. I said, get up, stand up, stand up. She said, "Oh, you don't know what you all have done for us." I go around the corner, and there was a sign. The reason my daughter wanted me there so much, because my kids had dedicated the well in my honor, and I had no idea, and the family, the mother, the husband is deaf, and the mother, they had a well there before, and it wasn't working because it wasn't put in properly, and she was pulling on the lever to get the water so hard, and she had a heart attack. So when we built this well, they had to go for miles for water, or sometimes the neighbors wouldn't give them the water. We got water, go down the street, whatever. And she was so thankful and grateful, and on the sign was a verse from Surah Luqman about honoring your mother and importance. And of course, I just broke down in tears. But I'm just saying that, for a few dollars, it goes a long way. They water their cattle. Most of the women run the marketplaces. They have to have the water to water their crops, for the animals, and to feed their families. And so it's so very, very super important. And you know how hot it is over here. So you can imagine how hot and more it is over there. So water is super important. And, it's just not about watering. They need the water for the crops, to feed their families, and all of that kind of thing. So Jazakallah Khan, so much. This goes a long way, I'm telling you. And they're going to be so grateful. And somebody asked me how much does it cost? It can go from $700 for a small well to maybe $3,000 to $5,000. But they don't have that kind of money, okay? So when you build a well, you're not only building it for that family, it goes for everybody in the community. And that mother and her family, they're going to feed the whole community. They will come and share the water. We also built a well while I was there during Ramadan, which was awesome, because every day we were going out and doing charity work. And it was a widower. Her husband had died, and he was the Muladin from the community, and he had died. An old woman, 80-something plus years old. And she had to go to, door to door trying to get water. And sometimes people just, wouldn't open the gate to let her in. And so every time we build a well, other communities contact us, can you please come? Can you please help us? We can do what we can. So we built for this 80-something-year-old widow a well. And again, gratitude. She was so humble and so thankful. So again, Sisters of Service, this is going to go a long way, and we thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan again.
Get Sister Valerie in the picture.
And they also have a website. You can go to UmbertoFoundation.com. You don't have to have the whole amount of money, $5, $1. What we do is just hold the money until we have enough to build another well. So we've done about 6 or 7 wells over the last 3 or 4 years. So
Come stand over here and get the picture. No, hold that up. There you go. Now let me step over here.
You want me to go this
No,
side?
no, stand right here.
Okay.
You got me. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for all that you've done. Everybody who came out today, those who wanted to come and didn't come or couldn't come, we still are thankful to all of you. We really appreciate the brothers behind the scene helping us set everything up, because these tables they tell me these tables are heavy. I don't know. And Master Ash-Shaheed, sometimes we get sisters in here and they're trying to lift chairs and move, and I say, sisters, sit down. The brothers do that here. We don't lift tables and chairs in this masjid. Alhamdulillah for our brothers. I just want to thank the committee that worked. We had Zoom meetings and some we tried. I appreciate everyone that had input and served on the committee, people who prepared food for yesterday and for today, so that we could have a very good meal, more food than we need, but y'all can fast the rest of the day. I just been told Brother Jamil would like to donate $500 to the Baraka Foundation from the Dr. Deborah Majid Foundation. So Sister Adela, don't leave without the other check. I do. You can contribute. If you want to give Sister Adela money today, you can do that. But at thebarakafoundation.com, there's a way to donate on the website, too.
And we also want to say that right now my daughter is here and she's collecting clothing, old electronics. They will take old stuff and repurpose it. And what they do, they're going to ship it over and they're going to give it away and
So when will they be leaving?
Well, they'll be leaving in 2 weeks, but her husband's gonna be here for a little while longer.
So we can get the things to you? Yeah. Alhamdulillah. I told the sisters yesterday, but my favorite little known Black History fact that you all, I don't know if you all remember Sister Gladys Shabazz, who used to write for the Muslim Journal. This is Sister Adila Shabazz, Gladys Adila Shabazz. So I'm sure a lot of you might have read her columns in the Muslim Journal, and she was in Columbia, South Carolina, little old Columbia. Alhamdulillah. So that means get your journal so you can see the article, right? Alhamdulillah. Next we have our closing remarks by Sister Maida, and then followed by our closing prayer by Sister Rahma bint Dawood.
Thank you, Absi. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Hold on 1 second, sis. Before we do all that, I would like to welcome Sister Aisha Mutakabir up for a very special announcement.
You're welcome. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I tried not to come up here today. As you see, Maida's coming up for the closing remarks. And as you saw, Sister Teresa, in true fashion, as I said, she has replaced Sister Wakila with the new sister in charge. Stay up here, Sister Teresa. You saw her doing the MC's job and every other job. So it was brought to my attention after I became the chair about 10 months ago that Sister Teresa has never served as the chair of CERWIS. And you would have never known that. Never. Because over the past, I'm sure 30 plus years, she has done the work of a chairperson, a secretary, a treasurer, anything you can think of. And so we would be remiss if we honor everyone today and not honor this beautiful lady here who wears many hats and all hats. Fisi bilillah. All right, so let's please give Sister Teresa her flowers today because she deserves it and more. Ameen. Ameen. We love you, Sister Teresa. We appreciate all of your, she told me, don't make me cry. We appreciate all of your selfless work for the community, behind the curtain work, as we talked about, without any recognition, just because. So she's going to do a lot, and but it's from a great place, and we're very, very grateful for that. MashaAllah. Thank you. We're lucky to have you. Yeah. Go ahead and say.
Assalamu alaikum. We had her first, and but she was the same way in Columbia. Ever since I've known her, she's been like that. Alhamdulillah. The Girl Scouts, we want to die. She, Sister Lois and all, started the Girl Scouts.
Yes, Sister Teresa has been in the community for so long, but my main thing was her, Sister Lois, and Sister Warda Amin. They started the Girl Scouts in Columbia, South Carolina. And I'll never forget something that Warda told me. We used to go to Sesquick Park there, and they told me that they dug a hole in the ground and made the fire and had the wieners on the fire in the hole. Is that true, Sister Teresa? I could not believe that. But yes, so she's wears a lot of hats. Alhamdulillah.
One more thing, please. She and Sister Warda started the CERWIS retreat back in Columbia also. Never been a chairperson. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Let's give it up one more time for our dear sister Teresa Mutakabir. I know she's been there for me through some terrible times. Alhamdulillah. My dear sisters, I would like to give recognition to all of the businesses who have put ads in our little pamphlet. Have you looked through them to see what was in there, included in your pamphlets? Maybe some information or things you might need in there as well. yeah, I want to give a great thanks to them for putting some ads and stuff in our little pamphlets. Inshallah, we will grow these every year. They will grow. There are some beautiful pictures in the back in love and memory of some of our Muslim brothers and sisters who Allah has called back. You can look at that as well. It's kind of a tearjerker. But alhamdulillah, we're going to give blessings and thanks to Allah for everything that He's done for us. Inshallah, we'll do this again next year. Not sure when, but I'll see all you beautiful sisters, inshallah, again next year. So now, for our final sister up is Sister Maida. Sister Maida.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As we come to the close of this inspiring gathering, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us the opportunity to connect, reflect, and grow together in faith and sisterhood. May the knowledge shared today be a source of empowerment, guidance, and lasting change in our lives and communities. Let us leave here with renewed intention, strengthened hearts, and the resolve to support one another on this path of deen and purpose. Jazakallah khairan to all the organizers, speakers, and participants. May Allah bless you all and accept your efforts. And please, as we leave, clear off your tables and help us break down a little bit. We don't have to move the tables, we just have to clear.
Shukran, dear sister. Appreciate that. Next sister up is Sister Rahma. My beautiful chocolate flower. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ما ذا الذي يشفع يده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر آمين.
Assalamu alaikum. Sister, where did she go? Oh, here she is. Okay. Sister Naomi.
Thank you. Bismillah. Just a quick reminder, Assalamu alaikum, for those who were not here yesterday, please remember we have another event coming up in September 19th through 21st here at Masjid Ash-Shaheed, the Global Peace and Leadership Summit. We are looking forward to having you back, especially our young 18 to 39-year-olds. We are especially asking them to please come, male, female, because we want to talk about our future. How are we planning, and how do our young persons envision their leadership skills being a part of building this community? And how can we, those of us who are over 40, how are we going to help support them in that work? So please come out, register. We need to get registered this week, inshallah, August 20th. Things begin to change. Registration fee changes from $35 for your 18 to 19-year-olds to $45. For older adults, 40 plus, it changes from $45 to $55. If you're coming from out of town, make sure you make your reservations down the street at the Hampton, $129 per night. So we're looking forward to seeing you, Imam Ibn. We want to talk about nominees because we have the awards dinner that night. So we have some information to give you about that. So please stay posted. I pray Allah we can continue to announce things through the masjid. We look forward to having you. We need your support. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. So understand, we're closed out, so, but Masjid Ash-Shaheed, we keep stuff going on. So next week, it's, come on back. Next weekend, we have, on Friday, the Listen Up project begins Friday evening at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and then from 10 to 3 on Saturday. This is a life skills training for youth between the ages of 12 and 17. So you can sign those young people up with that. That is free. It is a life skills training program for young people between 12 and 17 years old. Also, next week, the school supply drive and giveaway is going on next weekend as well. That's going to be from 12 o'clock to 4 p.m. on the Masjid Ash-Shaheed grounds. You can donate to that. You can bring school supplies to that. And also you can come and pick up school supplies if need be for your student. And on Sunday, free haircuts for boys. We have 2 professional barbers that'll be here. You do have to register your son, your child, or a young man between 5 and 17 years old to receive free haircuts on Sunday. That's Sunday next week from 1:30 to 5:30 p.m. All right. So alhamdulillah. Like I said, we want to remain being an active masjid, so we're going to keep the momentum, and inshallah, once you are done with your immediate task, still strive hard. So we got continuous work to do here at the masjid. So brothers, we're going to clear an area for salah and get ready for dhuhr. And please support the vendors as you leave. We're a family masjid, so everybody, many hands makes light work. So alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Who's registered for the trail ride? That's next weekend too, isn't it? Yeah. The flyers out in the foyer. The Muslim. This is the first Muslim trail ride in Rock Hill, all day, right, from 1 o'clock to from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So it's going to be some music there. It's going to be some horses there. It's $25 per vehicle, right? You don't have to get on the horse. When is a trail ride is the question you asked.
You actually will ride a horse
You can ride a horse if you would like to.
If you would like to.
Yes.
So it's like a picnic.
Yes.
Some people don't want to come because they think they have to get on the horse.
Oh, no. It's a cookout with horses. Some people, she said some people don't want to come because they think they have to get on the horse. No. You can see the horses from a distance. And you can enjoy yourself around your fellow Muslims. Alhamdulillah. You don't even have to smell the horses, right? Just,
You might smell it, but
you might smell them, but you don't got to get on the horses. Alhamdulillah.
I don't know.
Assalamu alaikum. And that's the Muslim Trail Ride. That's the Muslim Trail Ride in Rock Hill, South Carolina. The flyer is in there for you. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, it's going to be big. I'm hearing that we're having Muslims travel from other states to attend this Muslim Trail Ride.